Hi, everyone. Hi. How is everyone doing? Great. How are the tacos? I can smell it up here. I'm actually really jealous. I'll have to get some. I heard that Tight Tacos is an awesome, awesome restaurant here. So I'm Ed Lin, as Alexis had mentioned. I work on Square Capital, which is our lending product to small business owners like yourself to help you run and grow your business. We also have a new product called Square Installments that enables your customers to be able to pay over the course of time for large ticket items. So if you think about a piece of jewelry or even a piece of furniture that somebody may be a little bit hesitant to just purchase right up front, it gives them a little bit more time to pay. So today I want to talk about a topic that I know all of you think about and that we think about a lot at Square as well when we're planning for products to really help your businesses, and it's about cash flows. And cash flows is something that a lot of business owners think about during the busy season, like the holidays, where you may be investing more in your product, buying inventory, buying supplies, even maybe hiring some additional individuals to help you out. And what we want to do in this discussion is to give you the tips and the tools to enable you to not run out of money when you are investing in the holidays. And I do want to emphasize that this is a discussion. So I'd love for you to participate as well. Raise your hand, shout out different experiences that you've had, ask questions. I guarantee that you're going to learn a lot more from each other than just from these slides. Cool. All right, so we know that cash flow is the lifeblood of a business. It enables you to continue to run your business effectively on a daily basis. It enables you to grow your business and also deal with certain emergencies that may happen that you haven't planned for. How many of you think about your cash flows on a regular basis? And how many of you worry about your cash flows on a regular basis? Awesome. Well, you are not alone. In fact, based on our studies, about half of US small business owners worry about their cash flows on a regular basis. In fact, they say to us that they stay up at night because of their cash flows. All small business owners face challenges with cash flows at some point in their life cycle. It could happen during slow seasons when you might not have as much business, or it can happen during busy seasons where you actually really need that funding in order to grow your sales. So again, this discussion is really to help you have the tools and the tips that are necessary to help prepare for those instances so that you can better address them. Because everybody's going to face it at one point or another, and it's not something that you should be afraid of. All right, so let's talk about cash flow gaps and cash flow crunches, and just really identify and define what that means. So a cash flow gap happens when your inflows, or the cash that you bring into your business, is less than your outflows, or the cash that is going out of your business. And there are a number of different reasons why a cash flow gap can occur. So the first is that a business just doesn't plan efficiently. They don't know what expenses are coming up in the future. They don't know how much in sales they're expecting to bring in as a result of the expenses that they're making. The second is not being able to track your cash appropriately. We always say at Square that business owners should have a finger on the pulse of your cash flows at any given moment. So we want you to have tools that are available to you so that you can review your cash flows on a regular basis. Timing issues. Sometimes you have to pay out your vendors before your customers actually pay you, right? And so just even that mismatch in the timing of your cash flows can cause a cash flow gap. Not maximizing the ways that you can take payments. So we'll talk a little bit about that in a little bit. We're a payments company, and what we always say is that you should never miss a sale because you can't take a payment that your customer wants to give you. And then finally, unexpected expenses or opportunities. So sometimes a great opportunity happens where somebody comes to you and says, hey, I have this amazing job that I would love for you to do for me. And you then have to put up that money up front to buy the supplies, to buy that inventory, hire those people before you actually get paid. And then sometimes there are those emergencies that you also don't plan for. So think about the times when the city of Portland decides to do construction outside of your store, right? And that limits the amount of traffic that can come to your location. So things that really you just haven't budgeted for and they just pop up. All right, so now that we've identified some reasons why cash flow gaps occur, let's talk about some solutions to them. So the first is really do proper planning. We always say to our business owners, understand what expenses are coming up in the next month, 2 months, 3 months, and what are you expecting to bring in as a result of those expenses? And when are those sales going to come in? So how can you set aside money now in order to pay for those expenses if your revenues are not going to come in until a later point? Now, some business owners decide to dedicate a specific amount of their revenues to specific buckets of expenses and initiatives. So there could be a bucket for running your business on a daily basis. There could be another bucket to grow your business. And there could be another bucket for emergencies. What is really important is that if you have that allocation in mind, don't be inflexible about it. Because things happen. And when those things happen, you want to be able to quickly shift how you're allocating that revenue to address the thing that you have to address at that point. So always remember to try to be as flexible as you can. All right, the next one is monitor your cash flows. Super, super important. And this could be as simple as putting together a spreadsheet where you're entering in your sales and your expenses. There's a lot of accounting softwares out there that can help you to do this as well, or you can hire an accountant to help you with this. But what we always say is that you should always understand what your revenues are coming in on a daily basis and what are the expenses that are going out. And the benefit of having this tracking where you can review this on a regular basis is that you start to see what type of expenses your business is actually making. And then you can evaluate over time, do you need to be making those expenses? Do you need to be hiring those vendors? Is there a way that you can potentially shave off some of those expenses? Or can you renegotiate the contracts that you have with those vendors so that you can get a better deal? If you do process your sales with Square, you can log into your Square dashboard, and that helps you to track at least the revenues that are coming in from your Square processing, which is great. I guess how many of you use an accounting software? And what are some of your favorite accounting softwares?
QuickBooks.
QuickBooks? Why QuickBooks? What is so great about it?
Because my accountant, it makes my life easier. She actually gives me a discount.
Oh, okay, so your accountant provides that to you.
Yes.
Great. What else? Why is QuickBooks great?
Ubiquitous.
That's the
Most used.
Most used, yep. It's not great?
It's not great.
Okay, why is it not great?
Because it's, I switched to the online version, but as a Mac user, it's like they make it difficult. It doesn't work as well for Macs as it does for PCs. It's different from the accountant's version, and it's kind of archaic and cumbersome, and it's not convenient.
Yeah.
It's the only game really out there.
I heard another peach tree. And how is that?
It's fine. I mean,
Yep.
I'm not like a big fan of accounting programs. I don't compare them very much.
Yeah.
When it works, I put the things in, I see what comes in and goes out.
Yeah. So I think this shows that it really depends on your business, right? So you should do your homework to figure out what is best for your specific needs. But always having that finger on the pulse is something that is going to help you out in the long run. Bill quickly and set clear expectations of when you need to be paid. So the sooner that you bill your customers, the sooner that you're going to get your money, right? It's sort of simple. But we know that you're busy as well, right? I mean, how many people are great about billing their customers in a timely fashion? Good. That's great. Awesome. What are some tips for people of how you can really just be effective in billing? Yeah.
If you have the QuickBooks app, you can just make the invoice right there when you're talking to the customer and send them an invoice while you're talking.
Yeah, so just making it sort of like a routine when you're talking to the customer. Yeah. Are there any other tips of how to bill? Yeah.
I actually have a filing system. I know this sounds crazy, but my husband's the head analyst for the state of Oregon. I have a filing system that has every day of the entire year, so January 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and the exact day when I get up in the morning, I know who needs to be billed.
Amazing. That's great.
It's crazy though.
It's a system that works for you. That's great. Awesome. Very cool. Yeah, we at Square also have an invoice product very similar to QuickBooks. So that's a really great way for our customers to be able to bill quickly. And it's right there in the mobile app. You can track who's paid you and who hasn't. On average, we have seen that customers pay their bills 2 weeks late. So if you need to be paid in a month, you should set those payment terms to be 13 days or less, because that's how you're going to guarantee that you're going to get that money in so you can pay out your vendors. All right, maximize the ways of taking payments. So Square is a payments company. We breathe this every day. We were created because we knew that there was a pain point. In fact, I don't know how many of you know this, but one of the co-founders of Square is a man by the name of Jim McKelvey, and he is a glass blower by trade. And so he would go to these art fairs, and he would lose business because his customers wanted to pay with a credit card. And he just wasn't large enough to negotiate with the credit card companies for a rate that would enable his business to be profitable. And so he called up his childhood friend, Jack Dorsey, and he asked, like, how can we collaborate on a technology product? And that's how they came up with Square. So, the fundamental message and mission of ours is economic empowerment. And how do we empower you all to continue to never miss a sale, right? So just make sure that you're able to take cash if people want to pay in cash, credit cards, debit cards. I mentioned that Square also now has an installments product. We've seen a lot of that, these companies pop up, and it's really popular among customers. But these flexible payment options, if your customers are hesitant about the price of things, can actually help you to get that sale. And those customers may even decide to buy more from your business because they can afford more. Great. And then ensure that you can cover your expenses. It seems obvious, right? But when you have a good finger on the pulse of your business and you can see that your expenses are going to be greater than the income that's coming in, then you can start to prepare for that, right? Where's that money going to come from? Can your business sustain it from cash that's saved up, or do you have to look for external sources? Yes?
It's kind of just a little different when you're depending on a distributor also as part of your payment plan. How do you work all that into the cash flow? Because they don't always pay what they say they're going to.
Exactly, right? And so I think that's something that we should all plan for, that you're not going to be paid consistently or on time. And so how do you best anticipate that that's going to happen and set aside money for that? Or maybe you contractually agree with your distributors that they have to pay you within a specific amount of time.
Oh, it's in the contract.
And that's where like a discussion has to come into place. But we can't control when people will pay us. And so just make sure that you can plan for those instances. Are there any other ways or suggestions that you all use to manage your cash flows? Yeah.
So I'm a business consultant. I work with people on the business of their businesses. So something I'd like to contribute to everything that you're offering that's right on is get good at having business conversations with business people.
That's right.
So it's one thing to have your terms stated in writing in a contract that everybody never reads and they just sign it, and so there's no real agreement. It's a whole different thing to actually say, will you pay us promptly? And
Yes.
look them in the eye. So get good at having straightforward business conversations.
That's right. And I think one of the biggest powers that you have are people in this room and the community, right? And so, chances are that these vendors and these suppliers are also working with other small business owners in the community. And word of mouth is super powerful, right? And so just make these individuals know that your experience is really important, and that really represents the experience of the entire community. And if they want to get a referral, Like that's really important. Yes?
I'm a small business and I deal with galleries who are sometimes notoriously slow in paying, or sometimes they'll go out of business and you don't expect it. But I'm not big enough to check their credit.
Yeah.
So I kind of go on word of mouth with them.
That's right. Yeah. No, I mean, again, we know that the small business community is really close. And so just that, referral is really powerful. So always remember that. All right, so let's talk about funding options. So if you encounter a situation where you do need extra funds, really think about where those extra funds can come from. And if you do actually need to take some additional funds, here's some things that you should ask yourself. So the first is, how are you going to use these funds to generate a positive return on investment for you, right? Are you going to be able to invest this in your business where you feel confident that it's going to grow your sales? And if you don't feel confident in that, then you should really think twice about whether you want to take those funds. The second is, what are the sources of funds that are available to you? There's a number of different places where you can get money. But what are those sources, and what are the pros and cons of each of those sources? And then finally, if you decide to borrow money from whoever, from friends and family, from a bank, really understand what your business can afford in terms of how much it can borrow. All right, so let's talk about the first source. Reinvest profits into your business. It's great if your business is profitable to be able to take some of that money and plow it back and invest it back into your business to grow. Now, it's not for every business, right? And you have to make that decision for yourself. Some experts say to invest as much as 50% of your profits back into your business. But again, it's really dependent on your specific situation. And what you want to make sure of is that you have enough to set aside for unexpected emergencies as well, right? So don't plow all that back in without a contingency. All right, the second is take out a business loan. So it's something that I live and breathe every day at Square. And what a lot of our customers think about in terms of taking a loan is that it's for something that's big, right? Like I want to open up a new location, or I want to expand my business substantially. What we always say to customers is that think about the need and think about whether a loan is appropriate for that need. So we've seen our customers purchase inventory and equipment, do marketing with their loan funds. So right around the holidays, if you want to do some marketing, a business loan may be appropriate for that. Hiring some additional help during your busy season, overhead and operations, and then of course, expanding your business and expanding your space, right? But really think about there could be many, many different situations that your business might need a business loan for, and it could be really anything that your business needs. Know that you can go to your local bank, your local community bank. A lot of lenders will require a substantial amount of paperwork from you. So just be prepared to have your bank statements ready, your financial statements, your credit report. They will require a lot of that. And then there are, of course, alternative lenders that are online, like Square Capital. So what we always say is just do your research and figure out what is the best lender for you. Has anybody taken out a business loan? And for you that have, what has your experience been? Yeah.
I got an interest-free loan that I had to pay back in 2.5 years, so it was very beneficial for me, and it basically caused my business to be a success. So
awesome. What company was it with?
You mean the loan?
The loan, yeah.
It was a small business loan through JFED, Jewish Federation.
Okay.
And I went through, had to do a P&L report, all these three things.
Yeah.
Co-signers. It was not an easy process.
Yeah.
By any means, but I'm really happy I did it.
Yeah. How long do you think that process took?
Almost a year.
Almost a year.
Yeah. I had to go through interviews. They don't just give you money. And
Yeah.
I mean, that was a good amount of money, so.
Incredible. How about, yeah.
So I'm a hairstylist and we use Square on the regular, so like every transaction that I see, and I expanded to a couple extra days a week and just buying more product and stuff, but I used Square Capital and it was like super quick. I could do it in between clients and I've paid off one and I've actually taken out another to take some more classes and just
Awesome.
continuing education. So it's super easy though.
That's great. Very cool. Any other experiences that people want to share? Yeah.
Well, I would just like to say I went through the Mercy Corps Northwest program.
Okay.
That helps, people in minority situations take classes, and then they offered me the loan when I was at the end.
Oh, great.
I paid that off, and then when I had made a big investment in an event that was very time specific, and I realized, oh, not enough people are coming. I'm going to be in trouble. I went and talked to them, paid off the earlier loan, and they gave me another loan.
Oh, great.
So they're really easy to work with, and I recommend it for their classes and their workshops, and it's a community.
Yeah.
So I feel really deeply supported.
That's great. Can you repeat the name for the room?
Mercy Corps.
Mercy Corps. Awesome. Very cool. So with Square Capital, we've actually worked with a number of small business owners like yourself. And I talked about a small business loan really being able to address many different needs. And so, we offer specifically loans from $500 up to $100,000, right? And our average loan size is around $6,000. And a lot of our small business owners actually find that $6,000 to be super helpful for things that they just need on a regular basis. Buying supplies, buying inventory, making small repairs to their location. So again, think about a small business loan not just as something that is for maybe big, massive projects, but something that could help your business on an even more everyday use case. All right, apply for a business credit card or a line of credit. So your approval and the APR that you get for each of these will be heavily dependent on your business credit and in some circumstances, your personal credit as well. So just know that. A business credit card is really great for everyday use cases for your business to run. But also, as you're evaluating whether to put something on a credit card, if you are going to accumulate a balance on your credit card, and there are compounding interest, there could be late fees associated with this, just make sure that you understand what those costs are, because actually taking out a business loan might be more affordable than putting it on a credit card. A line of credit is really great, and a local bank can provide you with a line of credit. It's basically almost like a rainy day fund that you can dip into if you need it. A line of credit typically requires, it's a little bit more stringent than a business credit card. So they will want to see a higher credit score. They will want to see a few more years of history in your business. But it does also come with typically a lower cost than a typical credit card APR. Has anybody used a credit card, a business credit card specifically, or a line of credit? Yep. And what are your experiences with each?
It's great just to have the money you can transfer into your account and then pay it off the next day if you are able.
Yeah. Just easy to draw down upon. Yeah.
I use it specifically for event-based costs so that I can not get those expenses don't go away from me, but I know that the income from that event will come by the time that.
Gotcha. Yeah, so you're just bridging those expenses until your revenues come in. Great, awesome. I guess for the people that have a business credit card, why have you decided to have a business credit card versus put it on your own personal credit card? Yeah.
Because I was audited by the state of Oregon, and even though attorneys said they were totally wrong, they are always right.
So from like an accounting perspective, it was really important to separate that. Yeah. What about, yeah?
It's like a business 101. I went to art school and have an MFA, but I knew that I needed to have my personal life be my personal life and my business be my business. Like I get points, and I went to New York with the points.
Yeah.
It's like, that's cool.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's a great point. I think people often think about, using their personal credit card. Well, number one, because it's easy, right? You don't have to go and apply for it. And then number two, like they get points. What people don't also realize is that there are business credit cards that will provide you with those points as well and those rewards. So just something to keep in mind. Yeah.
Good question, and I don't want to derail
No.
this train too much, but just from what you guys were talking about, being still like in the maker phase of my business, I guess, if you want to call it that, how do you make the leap and make the distinction? Because, obviously if you're doing hobby-based crafts or whatever, then you're going to be using your own funds, but then at some point it becomes that merchant phase. And so my question is, how do people make that leap, and how do you know you're ready?
Yeah. What are people's thoughts?
You're never ready.
But I guess how did people think about, everybody put their own, blood, sweat, and tears, probably a lot of your own personal funds. Like, one point, did you really separate that? Did you have a comment? Yeah.
I'm kind of in that same phase. Two businesses that are completely unrelated. One's a service-based, one's products. And with the products, I'm still making them handmade, and I am not happy with the full product quite yet, but I've just been told by other people, and I'm joining my local Beaverton Chamber of Commerce and doing pop-up events. I'm going to have my first one coming up next week. It's just, I think you just have to take that leap and just say, okay, this isn't perfect, but I'm going to do a trial run and get it out there, and let's see how it goes.
Yep.
And then you tweak it from that point. Makes sense?
Yeah. It's a leap of faith. Yes.
Just a couple of really simple, basic things that I would suggest, and by the way, I'm not an accountant and I'm not an attorney, so I'm not giving advice in those arenas. Register your business with the state of Oregon. It costs $100, I think. You can do it online. It's really easy, but register yourself actually in business and then open a business checking account.
Mm-hmm.
Declare yourself to be in business. Stop being a hobby. Put yourself into business.
That's right. That's right. Did you have?
Yeah, I was just going to say, if you're doing something as a hobby and you start to have a lot of supporters and you have, you see the opportunity to have revenue coming in, at least me personally, that's when I decided to take it full time.
Yeah.
When I saw that there was an opportunity that I was missing, that I wasn't being able to take advantage of doing it just for fun.
Yeah, that's right. All of you in this room are super passionate about what you do. And that has to be sort of the basis for starting a business, where you have to be passionate. And you're going to go through these ebbs and flows of heartache and joy, and you're going to have no money, and then some money, and then a lot of money, and then a little bit of money. And you need to have that basic drive in order to have that business. And I think what a lot of people are saying is, just test it out, right? It doesn't have to be like, hey, I'm gonna start my business, I'm just gonna quit my job, and that's it. But see if there's actually pickup. You can even talk to your friends and family. If you had produced this product or service, is this something that you would use? Do you value that, right? Is this a pain point that people have in their lives that you can actually address? And then if you see that there's scale and pickup, yeah, maybe it is time to just go all in. Sure.
I was wondering if anybody had any recommendations for resources on that stuff, how would I know to register my business or, pay taxes?
Go to Mercy Corps.
Okay.
Yeah, you can also for $25 get a session with a credit counselor, and they understand the difference between your personal and your business. And I went from really not understanding and flopping around and making a lot of mistakes to oh, it's actually a very easy game with very clear rules. Just start engaging instead of being so frightened. Right. That I went for 3 years without oh no, baby, I'm gonna do it. No. And then I did, and now it's oh, it's easy to get credit. It's easy to have your business. You just have to actually do it. Yeah. I'd be glad to talk to you more.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
The Small Business Development Center is amazing. They have a lot of resources. You can go through and find it all online, but you can also set up an appointment if you're thinking about it. I still work with a mentor with them. So it's another great resource.
Yeah, I like what you're saying is, well, the internet's a great resource in a sense, but like if you're anything that has to do with the government, it can be ridiculously confusing, and I think they do it on purpose. And you know, my business is 31 years old, and I have found that over the years it's best, at least for me, if I can find somebody to talk to. And I went through the Mercy Corps program, and it was absolutely wonderful. I can't say enough good about that. And then the Small Business Center as well has been a very positive approach. So, yeah.
Great. One other organization that we work really closely with is the SBA, the Small Business Administration. You can go to sba.gov, and there's a lot of resources there as well. And you can even give them a call, and they'll get on the phone with you. Cool. Yeah.
Something my wife and I did when we were looking to buy a house was our credit union offered credit counseling, and it was free. And we met with the guy 3 times over the space of about 9 months, and he just showed up with everything, and he looked it over and said, "You just gonna switch money you need now," and whatever. But you talked about what you wanted to do and how the money was coming in, and he just laid it out in very clear, easy terms, not scary. So that was more on the personal side, but if you're at the hobby level, this guy would have been awesome to talk to in person and explain it, and you can ask questions, and it was free through credit union. So sometimes that's an easy baby step. Then you walk out there feeling a little more confident, and then you make the call and go to one of those places, and you kind of are more ready.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, think about all the professionals that you work with already, maybe on the personal level, and maybe they actually can help you, or they can at least advise you to who you should be chatting with. So, cool. Yeah.
I have one more to offer as an option. It's called MESO. It's MESO.
Okay.
Micro Entrepreneur Services of Oregon. And if you're in the maker phase conversion, I think they're an excellent resource. I'm looking into them. They offer business courses at the very beginning, rather than a lot of these courses, let's say like SCORE, SBA, might be you're already in this phase, you're needing a little bit more education, but they get you like breakpoint, hit the ground, and then read yours. If you're there, it's MESO.
That's great. Awesome. Thank you for all of the suggestions. Yeah, in the back.
I'm a MESO graduate, and it is an excellent program.
Awesome.
For any small makers, especially minority-based.
Great. I love it. See, I told you that you're all going to be better educators than these slides. So definitely keep contributing. All right. So the next is use your personal funds, right? All of you have probably invested your personal funds into your business at some point. There are definitely some pros and cons to that. You need to make just really evaluate whether or not you want to take on business liability in your own, personal expenses and finances. And then ask your networks. So a lot of your friends and family have probably at some point volunteered to help you out in your business. But there are, of course, some things that you should consider with that. How much do you want this individual to have a say in the decisions for your business? Do they want you to change the organizational structure of your business to incorporate them as well? How do you repay them? Right? Do you repay them every day, every week, every month? What if you can't repay them? What happens? Right? And then, of course, there's that sort of personal relationship that you put on the line as well. One thing that people have started to do, though, is rely on their community. So crowdfunding, right? Things like Indiegogo, GoFundMe, Kickstarter. Those are options as well, where it is people in the community, and people always want to support small business within the community. And it's a little bit of an arm's length sort of transaction, right? So you don't necessarily know these people, but they are rooting for you, and it is an option. So just a little bit more on business loans, if it is something that your business's size is the right fit for you. So lenders will require a variety of requirements, typically. And so you just want to be prepared to be able to provide this information. So things like, you have sufficient assets and financial reserves for your business specifically. Healthy cash flows that you can use to actually repay the loan. Length of time in the business. A lot of them will say you have to have a minimum amount of time that you've actually been running your business in order to be eligible for a business loan. Good repayment on other debts. So if you have had other business loans in the past, if you have a business credit card, they'll also look at how well you've repaid those obligations. Good personal credit. So a lot of lenders will actually ask you for your social security number, and they will pull your credit because they believe that that is representative of how you will pay back a business loan. If you have good personal credit, that may indicate that you also have good business credit as well. A personal guarantee. So some lenders will require you to put your own personal finances at stake. So if your business cannot pay that loan back, they will require you to personally provide your personal funds to repay it. So there is a risk to that as well. And then sufficient collateral in order to back the loan. We do things a little bit differently at Square Capital. So if you do process with Square, we actually use a lot of that data to help us determine whether you should be approved for a loan. So we look at how much you process through us, the length of time that you've been with Square, or if you've sold on Weebly, we take that into consideration as well, and we will make loan offers through that information. We do only lend to businesses in the United States currently, and one of our requirements is that you process at least $10,000 in any given year with us. So you may have payments elsewhere. You may be taking a bunch of cash, but if you process $10,000 with Square, that's one of our requirements. We'll look at the number of payments that you've taken. So we don't want to see that you've only taken one really large payment in a year. We want to see that you can consistently take payments and pay us back. And then we look at your sales history. Have you been growing your business over time? And then what is the variety of your customer mix? So we look at it based on credit card numbers. So we don't know anything about your customers. All we know is a credit card number. So we want to see that there's a variety of credit card numbers because, again, if you have just one big customer and that customer goes away, that is a bigger risk that means that you might not be able to pay us back. The one thing that we don't do is we don't ask you for your personal credit, so we don't pull your personal credit, and we don't ask you to put a personal guarantee as well. Yeah?
What about processing fees? Are they competitive or?
Yeah, so the standard processing fee is 2.75% off of every transaction. It sort of varies if you have the credit card present or not. If the credit card isn't there, it's a slightly higher charge.
What kind of card, Amex, whatever?
All the same. All the same. Yeah.
Is there a monthly fee as well?
No monthly fee. Yeah, no contracts, so you can process however you like. All right, so last thing on small business loans. So if you are approved, just make sure that you really read through the fine print and understand what you're getting yourself into. A lot of lenders will have fees in there that are not well disclosed. There are a lot of fees that are fees that they won't tell you sort of upfront, like if there's even an application fee, or are there late fees if you can't pay your loan on time. So all those things really add up. So what you want to ask your lender is, what is the total borrowing cost of this loan? For everything that you have to pay, how much are you going to pay once you've paid off the loan? And then speed, convenience, and convenience of the application and funding, right? So we all know that you are super busy in your day jobs, and you don't have a lot of time to fill out applications and wait for your money. I mean, you waited a year, right? Like you actually spent a year putting together your application, so that's a lot of time. So really be able to evaluate what is required of you to apply, and once you are approved, how quickly could you actually get that money? Ease of repayment. So how easy is it for you to repay? Can you set up automatic repayments so you don't have to remember to make that payment? With Square Capital, we've actually thought about that, and every time you swipe a credit card or debit card, we actually take a portion of that to repay. So it's actually really convenient for our borrowers because it's something that they don't have to think about, and it basically matches their sales as well. So if they have a slow month, they pay back less. If they have a faster month, they pay back more. And then just the reputation and the dependability of the lender. There's a lot of lenders out there. So you want to do your homework, read online reviews, and just understand who you're going to work with and if you trust them or not. All right, so I would like to invite Laura Jean Kelly up to the stage. She is our special guest. And Laura Jean is the owner of Knitted Wit, which is a woman-owned business locally here in Portland. So welcome, Laura Jean.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
And what we would love Laura Jean to talk about is how she's been able to manage her cash flows as a small business owner here in Portland. So first off, maybe you can tell us a little bit about your business and how you started Knitted Wit.
Yeah, so we dye yarn for the hand knitter, and we sell both retail and wholesale. I've been in business for just about 12 years now, and I started using Square, we figured out, I think, in 2010. And we started in my backyard.
Amazing.
And about 5 years ago, we moved to a studio about a mile away that was around 1,500 square feet, and then we moved again last year to 3,700 square feet. And I've taken classes through SBA, done growth plans, and because of that, we knew how much space we needed for our business and why we're there. So that planning is a big thing. I have to say, your presentation, I was like, oh my God, it's my therapy session over money. All of these things I have done and lived through, thankfully.
Amazing. And so, you started in your backyard,
Mm-hmm.
and at what point did you say, I just have to dive in and get this additional space?
So I have 3 kids, and at the time we had a dog, and our house is 765 square feet, and we were dying in a blizzard, so that was the push out the door. So we did Indiegogo to help fund that, and it was a successful campaign. We hit over the goal very quickly, but I think one tip would be people were basically purchasing things, and we didn't make an additional, here's the $5 extra going towards a loan, essentially. They were just pre-purchasing the product. So we could have made a little bit more that way to help with the cash flow.
Gotcha. So we talked a little bit about making sure to track your cash flows.
Yeah.
I guess, how do you track your cash flow? Do you have an accountant?
And how I don't track my cash flow. Yes, I have an accountant, and she's great. Last year I did not do a great job with moving the studio. That was a way bigger project than I had anticipated. So in January, I'm frantically entering all my bank statements. And then this year I was like, okay, I'm committed. I'm going to keep on top of it. And I did the first 3 months, and then April came along. I was like, oh, I got so much money. I'm doing so great. And then the end of the month came, and I was like, oh my God, I spent all my cash on infrastructure.
Yeah.
And I had no money for payroll, for rent. And so thankfully, I had access to capital, and I've used cabbage loans as well. So it totally bit me in the butt for not being on top of my cash flow. And since then, I've recommitted to actually knowing what is happening.
Yeah, gotcha. And I guess, how has your experience been with the accountant that you work with?
Oh, it's great. She's a family friend, so that helps. Because I have to say, talking about money with people makes me feel like I'm getting undressed, and it makes me very uncomfortable.
Sure.
And I think that's common for a lot of people. But in the business class I took last year, it was a variety of businesses, and these are all just business topics that apply to everybody. It doesn't really matter what industry you're in. These are all things that we deal with. So it makes it a little bit easier that we're all rowing that same boat, and I'm not isolated. It's not just me.
Right, yeah, the struggle is real for everyone. Yeah, absolutely. So as you were thinking about growing your business, you mentioned you've taken a loan with Square Capital, you also have a line of credit with Cabbage. How did you think about all of the different places that you could go for money?
Yeah.
And then how did you ultimately decide on the resources that you did?
Yeah, I think a lot of it came down to time and what I was willing to invest in finding the money. I've not always felt very confident about the records I'm going to take into a bank to get the money. Also, banks don't really care that I want less than $15,000. And so for the amount of work and labor, and honestly the emotional labor to get there, it didn't feel worth it. And the time constraint, because typically I've run into that wall and I need it tomorrow. Or I've just figured out, oh my God, I'm out of money next week. So the timeline, I think, is also a big concern. But again, money, like banks don't really want to deal with anything less than $20,000. So that's been my experience.
And have you gone to local banks within the Portland area?
I talked to my credit union briefly, but again, I think because at that time I wasn't on top of my bank trees into QuickBooks, I really I didn't feel confident that I could say, yes, this is what we're doing. Yeah. And
that's something that they would require, like a lot of documentation.
Yeah.
Gotcha. And then, I guess, do you use like credit cards for your business as well?
Yeah, I just started. I got one through Southwest because I travel on Southwest for business. And I was hesitant because I wanted to be able to pay it off every month. I don't want to be giving them money for interest. And so in the back of my head, when I'm budgeting for the month, I think I have to be able to pay this off because I'm not going to give them 30% on this. So that also kind of reins in purchases a little bit. And it just helps fill that gap.
Yeah. So how do you think about, so you have access to business loans, you have your line of credit with Cabbage, and you have your credit card. What are some of the things that you use each of those sources to fund?
Yeah, so I think my credit card is more for just those weird purchases, the office supplies through Amazon or getting things printed for our yarn bands. Those little nitty-gritty things that add up to about $2,000 a month for me. And that I know I'll have the cash to pay that off at the end, but right now I want to protect my cash flow that I do have.
So shorter term expenses.
Yeah, and then Cabbage is usually more for purchasing yarn, so the actual product that we're making and turning around. And what I like about that is that payment automatically comes out. I can budget what is going to come out. And then my Square Capital loans are typically for infrastructure growth. If I'm hiring or purchasing equipment and making a larger purchase that way. And I have learned, because I've taken out several, to base it on how much money I want to come out of every payment. So for me, I don't want it really more than 6%, because after that I start to feel that pinch of, oh, I thought I was getting all that money deposited, but I'm not.
Right. So you think about your line of credit and your credit card for things that you can have a line of sight on, that you'll be able to pay this back by a certain amount, by a certain date. And then for your business loans, it's something that is really to help your business to grow. Got it. Great. And then I guess any sort of learnings or horror stories or tips that you want to share with this room about funding and cash flows?
I think April was just a brutal month, and it was a really big wake-up call, because I had felt after a really great fall and moving my business and felt so confident about what we were doing and hitting all these sales goals, and then that's great, but if you don't have the cash in hand to pay your employees or pay your rent, that's not necessarily success. So I think being on top of entering your bank statements, like doing all those tedious things that are not enjoyable, but they do help me sleep better at night, because I was definitely one of those people waking up at 4 in the morning going, oh my God, where am I going to find $10,000?
Do you like set a specific time of the week to like actually enter all that stuff in and evaluate your cash flows?
It's kind of a daily thing. I do my billing through Square. I also use the reoccurring billing for a club we do. So I'm going in and harassing people that haven't paid their bill. And then entering every sale that day, going into QuickBooks and entering right away, so I'm not double billing or making sure I have billed somebody. So those things definitely every day, and then once a month when my bank statement comes out, putting that in.
Great, awesome. So you mentioned that you took a business course.
Yeah.
Can you talk a little bit more about that and where
Yeah.
you took that course? And then any other resources that might be helpful for people who are starting their
Yeah,
business?
definitely. So it was through the SBA, and I don't recall the name of the program, unfortunately, but we all came out with a 3-year growth plan, and I think I bumped it out to 5 years. One big tip, go back to your growth plan, because it's a living thing, and it has to continue to change, and you have to continue to grow with it. And so this fall I was like, oh my God, business, oh, this is so hard. Well, I haven't looked at my growth plan, what I'm supposed to be doing. And yes, I hit our goal, our sales goal at the end of September, and I was like, well, now what do I do? So time to go back in there and find something new to do. The SBA has been a great resource, and I use the, I'm gonna get all the initials wrong, but there's one in Gresham, it's through Mount Hood. They're a great resource as well. We've found, the SBCD. We found lawyers to work with when we looked at our new space to look through the lease, and then finding people within my industry and outside of my industry to talk business with, because we are such a specific industry and how we all work. But then there's also just the general business thing of we're all, like I said, rowing that same boat. We all have the same issues. And it can be so isolating to work by yourself and to not have anybody else to talk through your experience with and getting the information.
Yeah, absolutely. Great. Any questions from the audience for Laura Jean? And if you want to learn more about Knitted Wit, go to knittedwit.com, and then you also have an Etsy site as well. Great, awesome. Well, thank you very much, Laura Jean. And thank you very much for participating today as well.